For the next one, we're going to be going over chapters 2 to 4. So you're welcome to be ready if you want to come and hear that conversation as well. So efficacy is sort of operationalizing what the information that we get from this book. So I'm really excited for you to finally have like a professional conversation and be able to hear really what we've been doing in school and now how you can extend that into your home and your life with your students. So I'm going to turn it over to you.
Welcome, parents. Thank you so much for coming today. We will be presenting efficacy for parents and families. My name is Marcella Jamerson. I'm a teacher here at Wilson. I teach 4-5 combination class. And this is my colleague.
Yeah, so good morning.
Good morning.
Good. My name is Tashaka Merriweather. So I also work for the school district in the community engagement department with comprehensive school health services. But today I'm coming to you as a parent and also as an efficacy presenter to share some valuable information. Is that okay?
Yes.
Good, good. So before we jump into it, I want everyone to put your hands up like this and just close them together and lock them up. So I want you to look and see which thumb is on top. Is it right over left or left over right? All right, good. Now, start over. Same thing, but this time I want you to put the opposite thumb on top, all right? So if you were left over right, now go right over left. Ready? How does that feel?
Odd.
Odd, right? A little different. Well, guess what that means? Absolutely nothing, all right? But today we're going to kind of go over some things that may feel a little different and may feel a little odd, but as far as learning and development, all right, it means nothing at all. So we're going to go ahead and jump into the presentation. Yeah. Oh, gotta turn it on. I turned it on. All right, so what we're going to do is kind of go over introductions. So we'll find out your name and then the ages of your children and then something special about being a parent. So
We'll start. I'm Marcella Jamerson. The ages of my children are 29, 26, 22, 22 again, I have twins, 20, and 9. And what's special about being a parent is just the unconditional love that, you know, you just did not know until you became a parent.
good, thank you. And then, as I said, my name is Tashaka Merriweather, and I'm actually a new parent. So I have a 5-month-old at home, so I'm just getting into parenthood. You know, something that I already see is special is just kind of like you were saying this, how they look at you, you know, to see what's next, and then how they really rely on you. And just, you know, for me, since it's babies and I haven't got to the teenage years, I'm sure I'm going to feel different later on. But for now, you know, how much they really care on you and then how much they rely on you and vice versa, so that gives you a sense of responsibility. So I really think that's special about being a parent. I'll let you know if it changes. Okay.
So now,
Good. Yeah. Who wants to go first? All right. everybody, so don't be shy. Go ahead.
My name is Maria Herrera, and I have an 8-year-old. And I guess something special about being a parent, similar to yours, it is an unconditional love that nobody's ever going to give you. It's so different. And probably also the overwhelming fact that you have a huge responsibility to impact your child. And, you're just trying to learn too, to try to help them as best in life.
My name is Maria Pajano, and I have 2 boys, 20, 15, and 10, August 11th. And for me, it's difficult to be a parent because it's different.
Thank you.
I'm Christopher Larson. I have 2 daughters. One is 6 and the other is 2. They both just turned those ages. Something special about being a parent. My facetious answer is that it's the opportunity to warp the next generation. But also I find it's kind of the thing of a little bit of renewed looking at the world in fresh eyes. That if you let them take the lead on some things, as much as you're trying to shape them and teach them, they're showing you things in a new, different way because it's new to them, and for us, it's like same old stuff. But that's fascinating because it's 2 new, different people who see it totally differently. So.
Volunteers?
Looks like she's ready.
We'll do the United Airlines volunteer.
I have my first daughter, she's 20 years old, and the second one is 11, and the last one, my son, is 8. For something special is because it's to see the different age, 20, from 20 to 8, and always I learn, okay? My little boy is very excited every day and learn something every day. I feel very happy.
My name is Maisha Cole, and I have a 6-year-old and a 9-year-old. And like you all said, the special thing is, the unconditional love and their responsibility. But also for me, I'm having a great time being in the moment with my children. Before I had children, I was all about work and doing what I wanted to do. And now I'm really having a great time, like being at the school and being present and like connecting the dots and learning things with them. And like you said, that they teach me things and I teach them things, and I'm having a great time being a child again, like going to Disneyland and being able to buy my own stuff because I have my own money. So it's nice to be a child with adult money, but not the adult responsibility.
Who's next?
Who's next? Don't be shy.
Any more people want to volunteer? We want to make sure we at least provide the space and opportunity. Good, thank you.
My name is Teresa Quintana. Tengo 5 hijos de 30 años, 29, 20, 17 y 11. Y pues amo a mis hijos, pero también les pongo reglas. Soy una mamá que, pues por un lado les doy todo mi amor, pero les evito las cosas que están.
English or Spanish? We want to hear from you.
Mi nombre es Blanca Asensio, tengo dos hijos, una de 22 años y uno de 9. Disfruto mucho con mi niño porque me está enseñando cosas que yo no entiendo. Como dijo ella, Petra, le doy amor, pero también le doy disciplina para que el futuro sea mejor.
Good. One more. All right. Is that everyone? Maybe? No? All right.
My name is Laura. I have one child. He's 7 years old. Now in Spanish. A su edad piensa mucho en qué va a hacer cuando sea grande. Pero yo le digo, disfruta ahorita que eres niño. Juega, brinca, aprende. Y ya cuando seas grande, vas a ir.
So her little boy is thinking about, what he's going to be in the future, but mom said, you don't have to keep worrying about the future now. Just enjoy, you're a kid now. You will follow up your steps.
All right. Well, thank you all for sharing. We're hopefully breaking down some walls here as you get to know us. We share some more information. So you're all here today for one reason or another. Either you were invited or you're trying to find out about the book that your kids are reading about, or perhaps you were just dragged here by a friend. All right. Whatever that reason may be, you're here today. So we're glad that you're here. For this efficacy orientation, all right? Well, what is efficacy? Because I went to an orientation, the first one, and I was like, I'm here, but I don't even know what efficacy means, all right? So, any ideas as far as efficacy, what that means, or at least what you think it means?
I think it means how well something works.
How well something works? Good. Any other thoughts? One more time. Different ways to learn. All right, good. Good. So if you look at the Webster's Dictionary, what they're going to say is efficacy is the power to produce an effect. All right, so a little bit of both of what you were saying. All right, but the power to produce an effect. So our definition, in simpler terms, efficacy is the capacity to mobilize available resources to solve problems and promote development. So, the capacity to mobilize available resources and to solve problems and promote development. So, what do you guys think about that? When we say mobilize, what comes to mind? Say getting involved. What'd you say here? To gather. Someone else had a hand over here.
No,
Probably what they said. Good. Good. So to mobilize, to gather. Different. Somebody else? motivated, good, active, prepared. All right, good. So together, you prepared available resources to solve problems and promote development. Anything else that sticks out about this definition here to you? Available, right? Available. So what is it saying there? We're saying we're going to, what do you say about available?
For me, available means thinking outside the box. There's always things that may be available to you that you may not know about. So basically thinking about all the options, even if it may not apply to you, but just throwing it out there.
Good, good. I like that. I like that. Anybody else? And then towards the end here, what are we talking about? Solving problems and promote development. What do we think about that?
Always trying to grow.
Always trying to grow. Good, I like that. Anyone else? So let's talk about, all right, development for a second here. So, the definition of development. So development is the process of getting better, stronger, and smarter at anything you do. All right? So that's development right there. The process of getting better, stronger, and smarter at anything that you do. What do we think about that? Anything that stands out about that definition? Process, right? What about that? It's not a one-time thing, right? It's continual. I like that. Got some head nods in the back. Practice. Good. So doing something repetitive over and over. Good. So repetitive to get better. Good. What about on the back end here? So stronger and smarter at anything you do? What do you think about that? He's like, maybe, huh? Good. So we're here at Wilson in the school, and so the next part of this I want to talk about in the school setting. So when we talk about development and what that means, so in school, it is the achievement of proficiency at a targeted learning outcome at each grade level. All right, so when we talk about development in school, so that process of getting better, stronger, and smarter in school is what we consider proficiency. How do we feel about that? Any questions or anything on that? And I'll be honest, when I first learned about proficiency, when I first heard it, I thought it was something way different, right? You have to be proficient. And it was this grand word, and I was like, well, I'm a little afraid of proficient. Maybe I can be smarter, or I can be, good or something, but proficient, I don't know if I'm there until I put it in context of development, right? Getting better, stronger, and smarter in schools, all right? So that's what we're going to be talking about today in different components. So let me tell you a little bit about the Efficacy Institute and what we've been trying to do. So our vision is a nation dedicated to producing successive generations of citizens prepared to constructively participate in the society of their time. Give me some feedback on that. A nation dedicated to producing successive generations of citizens prepared to constructively participate in the society of their time. What do you guys think about that vision? What stands out? There? What about there?
Okay, so I don't want to talk too much, but
I want you to talk a lot. successive generations. What does that mean?
Well, I think it's partly with their time, but it seems like I'm thinking of it in terms of schools. And that we often almost want to educate kids to kind of participate in the society as it is, and almost as if that's the way it's always going to be.
Yeah.
And so this kind of, it forces you to think about, well, how do we see it changing, and also how do the skills that we teach them, or the things that they need to be proficient at, how are they going to change in the future? And so that what they're learning are things that then they, instead of being stuck with this is the way it has to be and I don't know what to do with this new development, that they have kind of generalizable skills that they can apply in new and different ways that we can't even imagine.
Good. So it's changing over time, kind of like what you were saying too, where you're at in the moment as opposed to where it's going to be in the future.
It kind of reminds me of milkmen. There was once upon a time, that was a great job. You delivered milk in the morning. And people thought they would always have those jobs, and they probably told their sons, or, well, because only sons can do it, you want to be a milkman. But they were preparing their children for their time that they were in, not the time that the children were going into. I had a typewriter, top of the line when I graduated from high school. And I thought I was important. It had the correction tape where you could go back and type over it. That was the technology. That was being prepared for my time. When I got to college, they had a computer lab. I wasn't prepared for that. I had never used a computer, a desktop. And so that whole sense of preparing students for successive generations, what we see now as opposed to what's going to happen in the future, preparing for what's going to happen in their time. Your kids are in elementary, or some of you have older kids, but they're going into a different time. My grandmother's 95. She could not imagine. She still won't go near a computer. She just won't. She's unprepared for the time we're in. But, we want our children to be prepared for their time.
Good. So the mission, all right? So our mission is to develop all children by releasing their inherent intellectual capacity and affirming their right to learn. Really quickly, anything jump out to anyone about the mission?
So when it says all, and it's in bold letters, assuming, to me, it's like any kind of, what is that word? Any kind of social kids, the poor kids, the rich kids,
Economic
anybody.
status, anything.
So all kids, to try to help them to reach their maximum capacity of how they learn.
Good. I like that. All kids, regardless of economic status, social class, anything like that. Good. Anybody else? All right. And then, so the ultimate objective is freedom for all children. All right. So it is developed people who are free to find meaning, to build quality lives, and to leave a legacy of wisdom and humanity. All right. So ultimately, that's what the mission, the vision, and this is what we're leading to, and then this is what we want. All right, for you guys today. So, speaking of today, so the objectives, so during this session, you're going to understand why proficiency in academics and character is the foundation for quality of life. All right, you're going to explore the efficacy model of development, including the definition of effective effort, and you're going to learn 3 concrete strategies in the form of 3 lessons, including how to help your children respond to questions like, am I smart enough to do this work? How do I work smart? And also, you'll be given 2 concrete assignments to become a constructive force in your children's education. All right, so, disclaimer. Given the time, and this workshop ideally is at least 3 different sessions, 3+ hours. So today what we're going to do is give you the beginning, the introduction session, and then hopefully at another time we can come back and give you the other sessions, all right? So we'll probably just get into the earlier parts of this. So I'm going to pass it over to Marcella.
All right, so I'm going to read a story. A story about a parent, much like you, all of us, who has a child, and the situation may seem familiar. It was 7 p.m. Victor was sprawled on the floor doing his homework as his mother, Anna, sat down for the first time since she walked into the house. Victor, where's your math test? Anna asked Anna. He reluctantly pulled it from his bag. A red 72 sat at the top of the paper. Can I get a volunteer to do the next paragraph?
Anna sighed. In the past month, she had noticed a pattern. Whenever she asked Victor about his homework, he would say he finished it at school. And the few times he did work at home, he seemed distracted or bored. Anna was very concerned.
Another volunteer?
Anna went on. Do you know how important your education is? If you want to make something of yourself, you need to take your schoolwork more seriously.
Victor didn't understand why his mother was never satisfied. To him, a 72 on his math test was not the end of the world. Anna worried. She wished she could just snap her fingers and feel reassured that Victor's life would be full of the things she wanted for him. So, you heard the story. Give me a thumbs up if that sounds familiar. At some point, you have felt this way, you've heard this, it's something that seems familiar to you. I know I have, when my sons were younger in elementary, they went to Wilson, and they got into a very bad habit of not working hard. And so then they left Wilson and went to middle school, and they completely flatlined. But they just didn't work hard enough. And so when they began to get challenges, they put in just enough effort to get a 72. And so, and I was concerned because as a mom, what I want is what Anna wants for her child. What Anna really wants is a quality life for her child. So I want you to think about that. Your children, what does a quality life look like? And so I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to talk to each other, and then we're going to come up with a list of what, if your child had the best life, a quality life, what would it look like? I'm going to let you talk.
Take about 63 seconds. All right, go.
Y la historia que me recuerdo es de que
Take
I
another
was just
30
thinking,
seconds or so.
not having things that are past that hold her back, and not having things where she has to redo kind of, there's things that can just prohibit you from doing other things or developing new ways, and just not having that. Not having to go back and kind of like, oh, I didn't pass calculus, so I have to take it again. That kind of thing where I want to do this, but now I have to go back and repeat all this other stuff I should have learned back then.
So just kind of having hindsight.
Or foresight
Knowing
to
what you
realize
need to
that
know.
I don't know why I'm learning this right now, but I don't want to have to repeat it. So I need to kind of, that ability to say, even though I don't understand why I'm learning this, it's probably worth learning. So not just outright rejecting it. And I think that's kind of the thing Anna is kind of, she realizes you get 72s, you get C averages, you're just kind of, you're on a low trajectory. But if you're a young kid, the world seems impossibly open, so it doesn't seem like this can
Right. You
possibly
ready to wrap it up?
restrict you or hold you back.
Envisioning the quality of life that you would like for your children. All right. So let's hear it. What do you guys see for your children? This quality of life. Who's up?
So they will not learn, how life is because they will have everything.
So they'll have everything, is the quality life.
Because they will have everything, so they will not know, how to get, how to suffer to get better things. So they will have everything.
Good. So they don't lack for anything. Good. Who else? Some good conversation going on. Right here. Go ahead.
Well, like for me, I know that most of the world always is saying, okay, I want my child to be an engineer, architect, doctor, whatever it is. So the world's quality of life is to have the best material things possible. To me personally, that's not so. So for me, a quality of life for my child is just to probably have, do whatever she wants to do. So even if her dream is to be, a pet sitter, be the best pet sitter you can, and maybe she can go into, the business aspect, try to learn as much as she can so she can be the best pet sitter. But if she wants to be an engineer, she could be an engineer too. So whatever she wants to do when she's older, and doesn't have a big dream of having a big house, the American dream of, the fancy car and all that. If that's not her dream, I don't want to push it. So if she just wants to have a used car, but be the best pet sitter and the business aspect of it, that would be what I would think.
I like it. So
Could we put it in terms of options?
well, yeah, I was
Or,
thinking.
The best options of whatever she wants to do.
so whatever she,
The
they want to
ability to
do.
do what she
The
wants to do.
ability to do what.
Be the best she could be at whatever she wants to do.
Good. Go ahead.
I think this kind of goes with this is the ability to go and do what she wants to do, but also not having things in her past that she has that are going to hold her back from doing that. Like having, it could be anything from somebody gets a criminal record that precludes them from doing something, to having bad grades and you have to go back and repeat a whole bunch of work that, that you just have to, now you have to, you want to go somewhere, but it seems like it's closed off because you didn't learn something when it was first taught. So not having that kind of thing, and I think, so it also requires a bit of foresight to try to encourage them that they're going to need. Yes, there's a reason to learn this, even though you don't necessarily know what it is right now.
Yeah.
You don't want to close options off for yourself.
So having options.
Foresight and just enough to not kind of not having things that are going to hold her back.
Good. Who else? Go ahead.
Talk about having access
Access.
to interests and activities, continue her interests
So choices and then having multiple paths and options, right? So coming up with a backup plan and being able to be stable in that. Who else? What do you envision for your child? What does that quality of life look like for them?
To make money so I can retire. I'm just joking. I'm really not joking.
Help me retire. Huh? Good. Anybody else want to share?
Anyone else want to share?
Can I just say that I want them to be happy?
Happy.
I just want them, whatever it is they're doing in life, I want them to be happy within and with themselves.
Good. Good.
All right. So what are the elements of equality? We have some up here, and we also, the Efficacy Institute also has elements. One is a healthy mind and body, strong supportive relationships,
See that one over there, support.
financial stability, that showed us, freedom to define one's path,
Came up a couple of times.
leaving a positive legacy. So let's get further into these. A healthy mind and body. What's that? Well, when we are healthy, our thinking is focused and we make responsible decisions about our own lives, our family, and community. That's from having a healthy mind and body. If I'm sick, if I'm stressed, I'm not always making the right decisions. And if our children are sick, if they're stressed, they're not always making the right decisions. You're not going to be able to have a quality life if you're constantly struggling with issues of stress or sickness.
Physical and mental health.
Strong, supportive relationships. Having people we trust, with whom to share ideas and explore solutions to difficult problems is critical in the process of development. And I know you've heard this saying, birds of a feather flock together. If you haven't heard it, if you want to know where you're going, look where your friends are going. So those relationships, they can support us to be great, or they can support us to our downfall. And so strong, healthy relationships to of people we can trust to give us the information we need, not the information we want, to help keep us on the path.
Also,
You know, that was the only time she could buy all of us new shoes at the same time. And, you know, someone else may say, oh, you should have spent that money on this, or you should have, no, she wanted to make sure we had new shoes. And so you gotta enjoy life. And you want the financial stability gives you that opportunity. Freedom to define one's path. When we create life options for ourselves, we can turn our dreams into reality. So if you are able, you have financial stability, strong relationships, a healthy mind and body, you have options. You have the freedom. And it's interesting to think of it as a freedom. But you can be trapped by your decisions. But you can also be freed by your decisions. When I was growing up, you know, with 5 kids, we were poor. I said, being poor sucks. I don't want to be poor. So let me make some decisions so that I could be on another path when I get older. And so I put all my eggs in the education basket. And how far will that take me? And so it really has given me an opportunity to define what I want to do. And having that freedom, you know, is so empowering. I mean, if I want to, I can hang glide. You know, I can create apps now because I'm not constantly struggling somewhere else. You begin to free up yourself for opportunity and possibility.
Oh no, I was just saying that's what she was saying as far as having different options. So it's saying we create those life options for ourselves. You know, we can turn those different dreams into a reality.
And then leaving a positive legacy. And that means to have lived well will include leaving a legacy of financial stability, respect and honor, and a history of having helped rebuild our community. And to think leaving a legacy, I'd never considered leaving a legacy. I just assumed I live, you know, I die, I try to take care of my family the best that I can, I try to be a good teacher. But when I heard this, it made me think of my mom, who, she was a nurse, she was a labor coach, so she helped deliver babies. And, you know, she was a single mom for a long time before she married my stepdad. But what she built in us was a legacy of love. So me and my sisters, we all love, we support each other. I've seen families where people fight like strangers, you know, and when my mom passed, we were all there to support each other and help each other. That is such a beautiful legacy. It's such a beautiful legacy. I've seen families, once the head of the family passes away, they begin to fight, you know, over what they think they deserve. And being able to come together, me and my 3 sisters, and support each other was just such a beautiful, beautiful legacy that my mom left for us. And knowledge. I have 3 sisters. I have a college degree, and 2 of my other sisters have a college degree. And then I have 1 sister who works for the city of Oakland. But, you know, just instilling education is important. You know, that's a legacy we take with us. And I have that to pass down to my children and for them to build on.
And it reminds me of kind of what you guys were saying earlier. We were talking about successive generations, right? That's what the legacy is about. You know, what you learn from your kids and what your kids are learning from you. But then when they have kids one day, right, what they learn from them and vice versa. So, and then I particularly like the part about and help rebuild our community. So someone, I think you guys in the back were saying, or it might have been you, that talk about money and just having money, but it's more than money, right? It's how you help people in the past. What is your character like, right? Respect, honor, and things like that. And that's part of your legacy, whatever your family legacy and what goes on to generation and generations, you know. Yeah.
Do you have any comments, questions, response to any of this?
Something on the positive legacy. It's interesting because growing up, having my father, and I realized that there was a little bit of directionless on my part when I was in high school, and I don't think he was able to support me, but part of it was his experience was his father had died early before he had been in high school. So he just didn't know what to do with the teenage son. And then, but at the same time, it was later, before I even had kids, I started working at juvenile hall. And the model they were using was based on cognitive behavioral therapy and how that sort of correction of thinking, and it's related to this, and finding that a lot of the stuff I was being taught was kind of like, wait a second, my father did this with me. Of, kind of strong, setting limits, but also it wasn't about punishment. And so it's funny that that was teaching me, okay, I learned all this from my father. And then that's how I'm dealing with my daughters. And also the fact that how he helped raise my sister, I think has helped me be a very positive father for my daughters. So it's, even he's around, but having that legacy of even how you raise children and things, and those strengths that you can draw on where, and there's sometimes you look at it and go, he did it this way and I don't want to do it that way. I don't think that was the way to do it. So there's also those kind of things of knowing that what you think seem like errors, and you can think about those and to critically engage with that history.
Yeah, I agree. And then in the next sessions, we'll kind of get into that. We do some things based on what our parents did, or we think the way we think based on what we thought was right or what we were taught. But then there's that opportunity to say, maybe there's a different way, right? Maybe I don't have to do it that way. Maybe I want to do it better, to kind of change those things. So
It just reminds me of my mom. When we were growing up, she, was a traditional old school mom. Lots of whoopings, get in line. And then she went to community college and took psychology classes. And,
How to mess with your mind instead.
when you know better, you do better. And so her parenting totally changed. She had some more tools in her parenting bag that she didn't have before. And so she was able to heal mind, and that had a positive impact on us. And now I think I've never hit my daughter. My husband has once, and she was about to call the police because that is just not in her frame of reference. But subsequent generations that find that there are other ways and growing.
But my son asked me if I told him to be real,
that my son wants to be a rapper, but he won't put in the work of being a rapper. So I told him the minute I see you putting in the work, you know, the writing, I can see a notebook, I can go in it and see, oh, you have lyrics. You've been working on your rapping. You know, he's out making connections with it. Otherwise, it is just a dream. I'll support him if he wants to be a rapper when I see him doing the work of being a rapper. And so, you know, it's all about, are they putting in really the work? Do you see him practicing even when practice is over? You see him, you know, at home really trying to really work on his skills. You know, that's the way I see it. If I see you putting in the work toward your dream, you know, I'm behind you. Otherwise, I'm behind you, but I'm trying to give you a plan B as well. But there's work in any dream. Otherwise, you're sitting around hoping that something happens. Then it means, you know, then you have to. I mean, you can always support them and tell them, well, you know, you got to go to college to, you know, so you can support them to get what you want and what they want.
Multiple
and
dreams.
Yeah, multiple dreams. Everybody's happy.
I think she said it herself. It's good to have a plan A and a plan B. So if plan A, being a soccer player, doesn't work out, you always have plan B.
And I just read this story about this football player. Played professional football for maybe 3 or 4 years. Now he's a brain surgeon. So once football was over, he had another plan. And he's a brain surgeon. So, you know, there are all kinds of examples to make your point to your son. Any other comments, responses?
I think it's also sometimes making sure that we're aware that we're actually saying we support, because this comes back to my own history. When I was in high school, I was really active in music, played tuba and trombone, and my teacher was pushing me to go to college for music, but I didn't hear anything from my parents. So I actually joined the Navy and went into a career as an accountant for a while. When I come out of the Navy, my father finally said something about, or my mom came up to me and said, your dad wondered why you didn't pursue music instead. And I said, he never said anything. He didn't tell me that. I thought he was saying, go do something else, because, you know, you need a plan B. So I thought, okay, I have to go off and do the plan B instead. So I never heard that from him. And it just was like, you know, I don't hold it against him. He did what he could and what he knew, but it was like, it would have saved me some angst if he had said something to me. So, you know, there is that thing of sometimes not assuming that our tacit or passive support is enough. That sometimes you have to make sure you actually say it.
Yeah, and so we really hope that you guys will attend the next session, whatever that is, because that's exactly where we're going to go. You know, what can you do and what will you as parents in this process of getting your children to that quality life? Yeah.
Thank you.
So that's it for us today. So thank you.